All right, guys, we got us another night in the shop. We got a lot to go over. Let's do it. And we are gonna focus on the fabrication in this kind of area here. I've got to get all this done because I need to get the cage painted. I need to get the carpet back in it for the final time, and then just start the assembly on it, start wiring it and things like that. So today's push is trying to get all of this stuff done. So we've already been making progress, guys. The driver's seat, when I got the car, was already mounted. We modified it just slightly, and then this is actually the seat that was in the Trailblazer SS. So the only thing I really need to finish up here is, per the rules, we have to mount the back of the seat to the crossbar. We just need to do that on the driver's side. So this is the old back mount that was for the Trailblazer. So we're either going to chop this up and make it work on this to go to the new crossbar, or I'll just make a whole new one altogether. As the passenger seat is mounted, so we used racecraft mounts to mount that to the floor. So that's good to go. We can put a big old check mark next to it. So if I can fight this glare here, we put a 1-inch chromoly cross member, a little diagonal there in the ceiling, and we mounted the parachute cable and the handle off of that. You guys can see the parachute cable kind of goes down there, runs down the back bar, pokes through the interior plastic, and kind of disappears. So that should make for a nice clean install there. Some things that we are lacking that we do need to do, though, is we need to go ahead, we need to mount the dash back in here, but we're going to chop it up and modify it and make it lighter. So you guys will see here in a second what I mean by that. But we need to do a little bit of fabrication, weld some stuff on the roll cage to do that. So I need to get that done. We need to mount the shifter. So we've got a nice billet shifter that we're going to be putting in here. Not running a center console, going to get rid of that weight and just have a real nice clean mount. That's going to come up through the floor, attach the shifter. So all that'll be real nice. Is we need to go ahead and do our window net mount. It's going to be the same Tim McCamus mount, our window net mount you've seen us use in the past. We've got that, so we're going to put that in here. And then one thing that we do need to do as far as cage goes, guys, is on a unibody car, we're using 6x6 plates to go to the floor and not like a full frame car. I've got to have a 1.25-inch bar that basically runs like in this corner down like towards the transmission tunnel area. So we're going to go ahead and add those two. No big deal. We'll get that knocked out. So we'll do that on both sides. There'll be a plate welded to the transmission tunnel. And then this car will certify 850. We'll be good to go. Guys, we've been thrashing on this thing. Haven't even really stopped a whole lot to do any video. We've just been pushing hard to try and make some progress on this thing. 30 days. We're going to be running 8 seconds, right? We've been making a lot of progress inside this car here. So let me show you what we got going on. Shifter's mounted. The Motion Raceworks steering column came in. We've got that mounted. We're going to have to do the steering linkage outside, but we're going to focus on that once we kind of get underneath the hood. Window net stuff. So I've been, working on this. This is that Tim McCamus window net mount. So I got to paint the cage. So I haven't put in the spring-loaded hardware yet. But window net's squared away, top, bottom. I'm waiting on one little clevis right here, how I attach the back of the window net mount. So I'm just waiting on that to get here. Those diagonal bars that were not on the cage before, we went ahead, we got those in, 6x6 plates. 1.25-inch 058 chromoly bar is in. We even also put seatbelt tabs on each side up on that plate, so that's squared away. Dash is cut. In fact, let me run over here on the other side real quick, and I'll show you what we got going on. Shop is a mess. I'm sorry, it's been just nonstop. Nitrous valve is mounted. So the rules state that we have to have a passenger seat, and what we're going to do is when we get to the track, of course, we're running Kirkies in this car. We're going to take the seat cover off to where it's just the bare seat. And then I've got a nitrous bottle bracket that's basically just going to go into the seat and bolt into the seat itself. So that way we satisfy the seat rule. And then our nitrous line will come off the nitrous bottle. It'll come around into our valve, out of the valve, of course, up through the firewall. So shifter done, nitrous valve done. The passenger seat has been mounted, so we've got the Racecraft Incorporated seat mounts in for that. That's good to go. The dash, guys, so same thing. Rules state that we have to have a stock dash, right? I think the class we run at 6 weeks says we have to run a stock type dash. So what I've done, instead of putting a fiberglass dash in this thing right now, just in an effort to save a little bit of money, I took the factory dash, just the outside cover part of it, and I actually cut it in half horizontally. So basically what would have been the like glove box door line, went ahead, I've cut that all the way around, dropped it down, because where the radio went, that is going to be where our switch panel is going to go. And then over here around the column area, we just completely gotten rid of the speedometer, factory speedometer instrument cluster altogether. And then our Holley dash is actually going to clamp to the column and then kind of fill up in that void there. When we got this car, the dash pad was already cut a little bit for the dash. We just kind of fine-tuned that a little bit. So all that's squared away. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to take the dash back out. I've got some final welding to do, but we are almost done with inside here. So let me go ahead. Let me do some of this fabrication stuff, just kind of get it tidied up. And then what we're going to do is we will move forward and we'll start tackling this area here. Because, guys, clock's ticking. We're already 7-8 days in, something like that, of our 30-day, 8-second build. So we have got a lot to do. And just like that, we are pretty much done with the fabrication inside this car. So you guys will notice here, we have got our nitrous bottle bracket mounted now. This is the same area that we put it in the Top Sportsman and Pro Mod style cars. We mount it right to the frame in those. Now, obviously, in those, we don't need a passenger seat, but in this class, and since this is a street car and a drag and drive car, we've got to have that passenger seat. So what we'll do is when we drive to the track in the morning, real easy, all we do is literally just take the matching seat cover off the seat. This bottle bracket bolts in literally about a minute. Of course, we put our nitrous bottle in there, race, do what we need to do. When we get done racing for the day, the nitrous bottle bracket comes right back out. We throw the seat cover back on it, and good to go. Off we are. So that is complete. Also, guys, you will notice that the door panels are back on the car. All the electric power windows have been wired, so all that's working and tested. We are good to go on all that. We're going to actually start wiring this car probably the middle of next week, but a lot of progress has been made already in just getting some of this other stuff prepped and ready for the wiring. Also, guys, you'll notice back here the diagonal bars. You can see how nice that fits with our seats in here. And then that 6x6 plate is actually basically right over top of the torque arm. So not only have we added that last bar that we needed for this car to certify 850, but it's also, the cage is also bracing the floor where the torque arm pulls up on the car. So ought to work out pretty good. Also, guys, Chuck has been coming over in the afternoons. He's a huge help. He's been buffing on this car. You guys know when we picked this car up, the paint on this car was literally sadder than a country song. So Chuck has been giving this paint a lot of love, buffing on it. And I must admit, I thought this car was going to be probably a 15 or a 20 footer in terms of paint goes. Chuck's got her down to about a 5 footer now. So I'm real happy with how this car has puffed up in the paint department. Let's go ahead. Let's start moving forward because some big stuff has been happening up here too. Right off the bat, you probably see that we have got our Cal Delete panel in here. So all that is nice and sealed off. These F-body firewalls are a pain to delete the cals on because it's flat over there and then it kicks out and then it kicks out again. So it's like 3 different planes you've got to figure out when you do this. But we've got all that nice. I'm real happy with how this came out. And the factory windshield will go right down back to this bottom edge. We are running a Holley high ram, so it is going to be very close right here. I might have to space the K-member down just a little bit to move the motor down to clear the windshield. But we shall see because motor's going in here in about a day or two to start mocking that up. And then also we started cutting this other strut tower like we did the other day on this side. So the front half is cut and then this area back here is cut. So trying to promote some air cross flow in here, pull some of this heat out because with the street drive and the headers and all that stuff, it can get a little toasty. So just trying to lose some weight and then also just give this air a path to, you know, kind of flow through and extract that heat. At some point, we will cut the rest of this out like we did on the other side. That might have to wait until after sick week because clock's ticking. And we will go in here pretty soon and we will start welding up the rest of this Rock Solid Motorsports front end. But guys, next step that you will see here, we're going to go ahead, we're going to take the motor and transmission. We're going to be running a Power Glide in this car. We're going to go ahead and get all that mocked up. The mount that is in the car now is for a Turbo 400, so I've got a little bit of modification I got to do on that to get that squared away. We got to get the motor in because we've got to start mocking up exhaust. We got to do something for exhaust. I got to figure out if the intake is going to clear the windshield. I know it's going to be close. Let's see here. What else? Obviously, we've got to wire this entire car. But in terms of like motor stuff, it's the simple stuff that take time, like mounting the radiator. I've got the race fuel system up here that we've got to make. You guys know we've got a street tank in the back, and then we've got a race fuel system up front. And then, I don't think I've showed you this yet, but we've actually modified the intake. We've got 2 sets of injectors, one for street, one for track, and we'll show you that here shortly. But other than that, guys, we are making huge progress. It is just, now let's see here, it's a day or two after New Year's now at this point. And while there's a lot of progress going on here, clock's ticking, the days are getting short, sick week's coming up, we've got to get this car done. So that's pretty much where we're going to leave off here. Next video, hopefully you will see the engine in here. We'll be finishing all the fab work in the front of this car. I know it looks like we're not going to make it, but I can promise you guys in terms of final assembly outside of wiring, this car will get thrown together pretty quick. All the stuff's made. It's just a matter of bolting it together at that point. So, and guys, thank you so much for following along. I know we've got a bunch of new subscribers since we started working on this car, so I'm pretty happy about that. Welcome, guys. And if y'all have any questions with this, just drop a comment down below. I'd be more than happy to help y'all any way I can. As always, guys, we appreciate the love. We'll catch you on the next one.